The trouble is, I have no idea of the man's address even, so how... It's Baker Street. But how do you know that? It's in the books, isn't it? Yeah, it is. It's in the stories. 221B Baker Street, the most famous address in the world. Yeah, everybody knows. That's the thing about Mr. Sherlock Holmes. Everybody knows his address because it's in his goddamn stories. Hey guys, Zack Morris here, and welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. So, in the last episode, we beat the runaway room, and honestly, I'm not entirely comfortable with how that ended. So, long story short, our guy may or may not have tampered with the evidence, which in this case was the entire ass crime scene. And then somebody died in a fire shortly after. I'm a little interested to see what that narrative thread is going to look like going into this one. But, in any case, time to get started with Untitled Chapter. So, yeah, let's just get into it. So how many pieces of this are there? Ooh. Okay, so there are 11 pieces. Hopefully this doesn't take me all day. I already know it's going to. It's Great Ace Attorney. The game is goddamn long. Each individual chapter is like 2 hours at least, if not shorter. If it's shorter than that, yeah. But in any case, oof. All right. In any case, chapter 4, the Avenger of the Clouded Coca. At least I'm presuming that's how that's pronounced.
I begin to think, Wilson, said Sholmes, turning his head languidly in my direction, that there is more to this case than that which we have observed. Indeed, that there may be another part to this story that we are yet to discover. His eyes wandered, following the steam rising from his cup of herbal tea, leading him to the distant memory of that snowy evening.
Alright, I love how all of these are Sherlock Holmes stories.
Pavement along Briar Road, and to the knife in her back. Lit in the soft glow of gas lamps, a most extraordinary scene had been set. And under the cover of a light fog, the curtain had risen silently on the insoluble mystery of our invisible killer.
I love how all of these are like Sherlock Holmes references. That is indeed what Sherlock Holmes is supposed to be. He's literally, Sherlock Holmes is supposed to be Sherlock Holmes. And indeed in every other iteration of the story he is. But in the English version, not so much. They had to change his name. But in any case, 19th of February, 9:47 a.m., British Supreme Court, Lord Chief Justice's office. Did you sleep last night, Mr. Naruhodo? No, I did not. Yeah, no, not at all. It was an enormous hotel, wasn't it? The rooms were so luxurious, I felt like we were staying in a palace. And with all the gas lights twinkling, it was brighter than day, even in the middle of the night. But what about the enormous beds? After my time on the SS Bureau, I wasn't going to waste a single inch of that space. Alright, I spent the entire night rolling from one side of the mattress to the other. Oh yes, it really was the sort of night you can only dream of normally. Except, when I learned that we owed £3 for the room, that dream quickly turned into a nightmare. Oops, sorry about that. The building was so impressive and the entrance so inviting, I just wandered in without thinking. Well, that's problematic. In a lodging house in Japan, that's the sum of money would pay for a roof over your head for a whole year. Okay, so that is a lot of money. That's apparently a lot of money in Japan. Or at least at the time this is set. I did try, but I'm afraid I couldn't help my tears when we were presented with the bill. Yeah, I really am sorry. Inflation. It happens. Well, never mind. We must find some more affordable lodging straight away, though. If we're not careful, our entire strip end will be used up in 10 days or less. London is a scary place. I mean, as long as we keep winning cases, we'll probably be fine. We'll probably be paid for those, and we'll be able to pay for our rooms in no time. But, yeah, we definitely need to be a little bit more careful with our money. Good morning to you this early hour. Hello. Oh, yes, we are, well, Good morning to you, Lord Chief Justice. We have come to report on the outcome of the trial at the Old Bailey yesterday. Susato-san is amazing. She doesn't bat an eyelid, even in the presence of the imposing Lord Strongheart. Yes, I believe you had a very comprehensive initiation into British courtroom practices. Oh, yes, it was very eye-opening, thank you. And in accordance with your instructions, Lord Strongheart, Mr. Naruhodo performed his duty to the end. Yes, I've already been apprised of events. Okay, so he knows what's going on. You conducted a remarkable defense. You may consider the test passed. Oh. No longer are you a student from the Empire of Japan. You may henceforth claim to be a fully fledged lawyer. My country is delighted to welcome young talent from such a remote eastern land. Thank you. Thank you very much. So, I'm a lawyer now. Alright. Now, in view of your new appointment, I have a fresh case in mind for you. I'd like you to take it on at once. I trust it won't be a problem. Another case? Already? Well, to be fair, we do need the money for lodging and stuff, but, yeah, already. Nothing trains a lawyer better than practical experience. I'm sure. I don't sense dissatisfaction, do I? No, not at all. It's fine. It's just that yesterday's trial ended unusually. I haven't quite come to terms with it. What's to come to terms with? The man was cleared. What's more, what more were you hoping for? Nothing, but it's a little. The way he was cleared was a little bit strange and a little bit screwy. The culpability of the defendant has not, at the present time, been established by this court. Consequently, the jury will not be required to proffer judgment. Well, Lord Van Zykes, it's been a pleasure, so it has. And as for you, my dear fella, I couldn't have asked for a better defense. Alright. Yeah, I'm still thinking this guy did something shady. Wahahahaha! I'm still thinking this guy did something screwy with the evidence. There's no way around that. I just can't help wondering if Mr. McGilded really was innocent. Mr. Naruhodo, it's just that I never managed to ascertain the truth. And then the trial ended. Well, you needn't let it trouble you for a second longer. Sorry? Uh-oh. What do you mean, Lord Strongheart? Magnus McGilded passed away, immediately following the trial. Oh. Was he the one in the omnibus when it went up? No. What? Mr. McGilded is dead? Why are there birds inside? Alright, fine. I have 19 minutes and 41 seconds until my next engagement. Time is enough to talk. Alright. Okay, let's talk with this. What the hell? What the hell happened to McGilded? I don't understand. What happened? How can he be dead? After the trial concluded yesterday, there was a great commotion in the Old Bailey. As you'll presumably recall, an omnibus had been wheeled into the courtroom. Yeah, and then it caught fire, right? Yes, of course. That was the scene of the crime, which Mr. McGilded had been accused of. Precisely. Well, while the bailiff's attention was diverted by some other matter, the omnibus went up in flames. No. How could such a thing have happened? That is being investigated as we speak, but already... The police have identified a corpse found inside the charred shell of the carriage is that of McGilded. That's awful. So he was the guy stuck inside. How did he get in there, though? The man must have slipped inside whilst the bailiff's attention was elsewhere. That bailiff really needs to pay more attention. Yeah, bailiffs are supposed to be on top of that kind of thing. They can't just be slacking off. And how could that have happened? That is also being investigated as we speak. Alright, so presumably we're going to have to investigate all this. Thinking back now. Immediately after the trial, Mr. McGilded did mention going back into the courtroom to look at the omnibus. Yeah, he did bring that up. Well, I must be making tracks now. 'Tis time for the inspection. Sorry? What inspection? They're going to examine the omnibus again, so I'm told. I asked if I could be present for it myself. An inspection of the omnibus? Not to my knowledge. I don't believe Scotland Yard had any intention of re-examining the carriage. But then who was Mr. McGilda talking about? Never mind that now. The Yard is making a thorough investigation. This matter is no longer of any concern of yours. Leave it to the police. Alright. Poor Mr. McGilden. Alright. So, British court. Alright, so, how did you find your first taste of our country's Supreme Court? Interesting! Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, it was... wow. That was vague. Mr. Naruhodo means that the whole experience was steeped in the solemnity of Great Britain's long history. It's really a world apart from our own judicial system in Japan, which is only a few short decades old. Wow, Susato-san has such a way with words. Yeah, she's a very smart person. And you seem to have a way of failing to find the right ones. How does she know what I'm talking about? Is she psychic? The judicial system here is the most advanced in the world. Learn all you can. Alright, so that's why the study tour's happening. Most advanced in the world, is it? That's probably why the study tour's happening, to figure out how this place works, and then try to apply it to the Japanese legal system. It was fortunate that your very first trial was a simple affair. Simple? That was simple? As I believe I mentioned yesterday morning, it was a trial you couldn't lose. I don't mean to be contrary, Lord Strongheart, but the case was anything but simple. Yeah, I mean, she's got a point. The circumstances of the case were so incriminating, I was stunned when I first heard them. In fact, I'm still finding it hard to believe that we managed to get a favorable verdict. Heh heh heh. Is something funny? No, my apologies. However, the fact is that you did receive the not guilty verdict as you set out to achieve. That's a fair point. And that can only be attributed to exceptional talent, wouldn't you agree? Yeah? Well, I don't know about that. He's being modest. We won the case. It's fine. Well, never mind. You exceeded my expectations, I freely admit. That much, at least, is undeniable truth. Which is precisely why I prepared a new case for you that I mentioned before. What's going on? What was he going to say before? Alright, new case. So what's the new case about? Could you perhaps give us some more details about the new case you mentioned? Don't tell me. It's a murder, and the trial starts in 10 minutes. Don't worry, it's nothing so alarming or quite so urgent as your last assignment. Alright, is everybody psychic in this goddamn game? In fact, the case is completely different. Oh, I see. Did he just read my... Okay! Ryunosuke and me on the same wavelength. Somebody is reading... We're reading each other's minds for whatever reason. I don't understand what's going on. That is to say, no one has died, as yet. And the trial will not be today. There's plenty of time to research the case thoroughly. Alright. 23 hours, 43 minutes, and 19 seconds to be precise. So we've got a full day to research, basically. So the trial's tomorrow then. Which, well, the good news is we have a day to research, so it's fine. Is everything alright? No. Oh, yes. I'm just a little confused, that's all. Yesterday's trial was... well, it's left me wondering if I'm really cut out for being a lawyer. Oh, Mr. Naruhodo. I don't know if I could face standing in that courtroom again after Mr. McGilda's trial. Ah, yes. I nearly forgot. There is one similarity with yesterday's case. Once again, there's currently no one to advocate for the defense. Oh. If the situation remains unchanged, the trial will start tomorrow with the defendant unrepresented. Alright, and if that happens, I need not remind you of the inevitable outcome. Yeah, we need a defense. We need to defend the guy who's in trouble. The most terrible end awaits the defendant. Yes, that's right. Alright, let's go investigate then. Here we go again. Alright, in any case, that's all the time he has for us. Your time is up. You will have to excuse me. I would advise you to begin making preparations for tomorrow's trial, which means investigating and figuring out what is going on. I can do that. After all, the clock is ever ticking. Well, I mean, that's kind of heavy-handed from a guy who's dressed like and lives inside a giant clock, but okay. There's now but 23 hours, 26 minutes, and 39 seconds until the court sits. Last time he mentioned 23 hours, he said there was plenty of time. And one more thing, Mr. Naruhodo. There's something I should like to ask of you. Oh, what's that? Yesterday, you remarked upon something. That you intend to see through the will of your late compatriot, Mr. Asagi. Alright. I would be interested to hear what exactly you mean by that. Inside 34 seconds. Oh, well, Kazuma always used to say, you see, that he wanted to learn how the greatest justice system in the world works so he could change ours in Japan. Yeah, that's why he wanted to do it. Now that he's gone, I'd like to work towards that myself. And there's another thing. Oh? Another thing? Continue. On the way here, on the steamship, he said something to me. There's something very important I have to do. Something very important? And what exactly would that be? He never had a chance to tell me. So you're going to figure it out. I suppose he would have done if he'd ever made it to Great Britain. You're out of time. Well, thank you for an enlightening discussion. Alright. Mr. Naruhodo, what's all this about? Mr. Asagi never once mentioned anything of the sort to me. I urge you both to focus your attention on the matter at hand. Oh, I've taken the liberty of summoning the police inspector in charge of the case. Who are you? He'll be able to apprise you of the details. Alright, he's got a bag of fries in his hand. How long has he been there? Or chips, I guess they would be in Britain. So I wish you the best of luck and bid you farewell. The dude's got a snack. Just casually. There's something very important that I have to do? Kazuma-sama, what did you mean? I wish I knew, but honestly, he never told me. Anyway, we had better talk to the defense, don't you think? No, the detective. Yes, you're right. Alright, who are you? I hope I'm just imagining it, but I wouldn't say he looks pleased to see us at all. Alright. Hello, good sir. Can I talk to you? Oh, he is eating french fries. Could we trouble you? What do you think? Ah. Lovely weather, isn't it? What's the weather got to do with anything? Ah. Listen to me, you young Japanese upstart. Some frippery about the weather doesn't get every English gent eaten out of your hand, you know. But Susato-san told me it was foolproof. I'm a busy man, a very busy man. Okay. Alright, there's a crime scene to investigate, but here's having the great likes to you talking to. Oh, I'm ever so sorry. Can you imagine what the other officers there will be saying? I haven't seen Gregson anywhere, have you? No, he's too busy with the bigwigs these days. And all because of some bumpkin who's here on a jaunt from a country I've never even heard of. Hear that ripping sound? That's my reputation at the yard going to tatters. There's no need to rip us apart as well. I don't believe we've been introduced. This is Mr. Ryunosuke Naruhodo, a defense lawyer. Eh? It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant, Soup. Eh? It's lovely weather we're having today, isn't it? Okay. It is unreasonably fine, I grant you. London winters don't see a lot of sunshine. Unbelievable. How did she pull that off? So, Lord Strongheart has asked me to fill you in on the case. The name's Tobias Gregson. Inspector Gregson to you. I'm from Scotland Yard. It's Gregson. Inspector Gregson? What's the matter with Susato-san? Does this detective name mean something to her? Inspector Gregson. Alright. Inspector, are you perhaps the Inspector Gregson? Oh. You're acting like you know this man, Miss Susato, but he's a London detective. Wait, is he from the Sherlock Holmes stories? Oh, I do know him. Very well, in fact. Very well. Yes, he features prominently in the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Oh, in that publication. What's it called again? Rand's Magazine? That's right. Inspector Gregson and Mr. Holmes enjoy a wonderful friendly rivalry. Really? You rival the great Mr. Holmes? That's incredible. Oh, well, I don't know about that. Mr. Holmes isn't a professional like myself, of course, but he does come up with the goods from time to time. Mr. Holmes is equally complimentary about you, Inspector, isn't he? You've earned his highest praise. Gregson is the pick of a bad lot in all Scotland Yarders. Those were his own words. That's his highest praise? Well, Mr. Holmes isn't particularly known for giving compliments, you see. That he is not. And thanks to that magazine, my name's known all over London town now. That's great, isn't it? I have to admit, to start with, I was a little, well, flattered by all the attention. But now that he's in the spotlight, that's kind of a problem. Everyone wanted to shake my hand, and my reputation at the yard went through the roof. Well, that's wonderful. No, it is not. There's nothing more sinister than the man on the street. People are always looking at me now. They're whispering rumors about me under their breath, I'm sure. Rumors? Are you quite sure? He's changed since he started appearing in those stories. The fame's gone to his head. Stuff like that. But doesn't seem like any of that has happened. Gosh, do you really think people are saying such mean-spirited things about you? Like I said, they whisper, so I can't catch exactly what they're saying, but I know what folks are like. I'm sure that's what they're saying. As sure as eggs is eggs. I get the feeling this detective could be very hard work. Oh dear. Perhaps a sudden rise to fame does change people. He's just, in this case, he's annoyed by it. Alright, the case. So, about the case that the Lord Chief Justice mentioned before. Nothing to tell, really. As far as we're concerned at the yard, it couldn't be simpler. Oh dear, that probably means... As far as we're concerned as lawyers, it couldn't be more complicated. I wish you were wrong about that, but I have a nasty feeling you're right. Yeah, Susato's smart, she probably figured that out. A young woman was walking along the pavement on Briar Road when she was stabbed from behind. Fortunately, it wasn't fatal, but she's still laid up in the hospital unconscious. That's despicable. What sort of coward would attack the poor woman from behind? I suppose you would have to finish whoever was off of the Susato takedown, wouldn't you? There's neither here nor there, Mr. Naruto. Actually, it is here nor there. That's absolutely something you would do. Brace yourself, Unosuke. You've angered her now. Anyway, after something of a whirlwind investigation, the criminal was arrested. He barely had time for a cup of tea after the incident took place, to be honest. So, there must have been something left of the scene that led you directly to the culprit? Or perhaps a reliable witness who recognized the person in question? Let me stop you right there. You're wasting your time on this one. Sorry? There's nothing you can do. There's no way to help that bloke now. Why ever not? Simple. The prosecutor that's been assigned to this trial tomorrow is Lord Baron von Zykes. Well, we've beat him before, so it's probably fine. No. Sounds like you've heard of him, then. Oh yes, we are very familiar with Lord Van Zykes. Believed to be the harbinger of death itself. The Reaper of the Bailey. Alright, Reaper of the Bailey. Lord Baron von Zykes, who we faced in court only yesterday. Mr. McGilda told us about him before the trial, didn't he? When Van Zykes stands for the prosecution, they call the accused his sacrificial lambs. And in every single trial in which he's been the prosecutor, the accused has been damned. Well, to be fair, McGilda died, so he's probably right about this. Does Reaper of the Bailey nickname? I suppose he's earned that because every defendant he advocates against is found guilty, is that it? Well, if that's the case, we should inform you, Inspector, that in yesterday's trial against Lord Van Zykes, Mr. Narhart secured a victory of not guilty. Ha. And what of it? Oh, well, I think... That means that even against the Reaper of the Bailey, it's not possible to save the defendant. That's not probably not what the nickname means. No, you really don't have a clue, do you? What do you mean? What happens to that bloke in the end, eh? He's dead. Ah. Magnus McGill came a cropper in that omnibus when it went up in frames. So you can't rightly say you saved the defendant, can you? What? What are you saying? Meaning that regardless of our victory, either he dies in a fire like McGilda did, or he's hanged and killed for capital punishment. Look, if Van Zykes could get the dirt to stick on everyone, he'd be a miracle worker. But that's not how it goes. He doesn't work miracles. He works magic. Black magic. Okay, so he has a reputation for being cursed. Well, they didn't say he was cursed, so I'd have a good long think about that if I were you. Are we really supposed to believe that? Alright, so... He's like a demon defendant. Demon prosecutor or something. Right, well, I filled you in as requested, and I'm very nearly out of chips. So I'll be heading back to the crime scene now. Your cup was full when you left. Well, we're still carrying out a few investigations there. It was Briar Road, you see, didn't you? You said, didn't you, where the incident took place? That's correct, ma'am. And if you head over to the holding cells, you can meet the criminal himself. You've branded him a criminal already. He's as good as. Shaking like a leaf in his cell, he is. It'll give you a chuckle if nothing else. He's Inmate 53. Speak to the jailer and he'll show you the way. Inmate 53. Thank you. Alright, so who's the inmate? So who is this guy? So there's no helping anyone against the Reaper of the Bailey, they say. Well, well, we've seen that firsthand. We got the not guilty verdict against him, but but he did die in the investigation shortly after, so something seems to be shady there. That probably has nothing to do with Baron Van Zykes, but who knows? Is something troubling you, Mr. Naruto? Kind of a little bit. Should be worried. To tell the truth, when I recall the trial yesterday, I can't stop myself from shaking. The idea of facing the Reaper in court again is... Well, if you think it's too much for you, there's no shame in turning the case down. That takes courage too. But we can't. But if the man they've arrested is innocent, you could well imagine he would be shaking like a leaf in his cell. And I, for one, wouldn't find the sight of that funny. So, if I'm honest, I'm still reeling from the shock of yesterday's event myself. And I'm really not sure if I'll be able to help this man, whoever he is. But I'd like to try, so I think I'm going to make some inquiries. Will you help? Alright, let's do this. Do you really think you had to ask? After all, I am your judicial assistant. Alright, thank you. So then, shall we? Yes. Let's go. Alright. Well, there's nothing else in here that I can examine, so... ooh. Oh, this is a much bigger chamber than I thought it was. Okay. That had two things I could slide around to. Alright, in any case, Briar Road and prison. I'm gonna go to the prison first and figure out I'm gonna go meet the dude who we have to actually defend in court. So, let's do that. Alright, we have an actual investigation. 19th of February. Local prison, cell 9. Who's in here? So these are British prison cells. Very... Well, I mean, it is 19th century, so I'd imagine they would be very cramped and a little depressing looking. Not that modern cells are any better, but, I mean, I'm presuming. Oh, they're ghastly. Feels just like a dungeon. Yes, and having experienced it in Japan myself, I can assure you that our wooden cells feel a lot cozier than these cold stone ones. Oh, don't, Mr. Naruto. You're making it seem worse. Alright, so where's the dude? Apparently, our client is in this cell here. But it's so dark in the back there, I can't make him out. I wonder what he's like. Inmate 53, your legal representative is here to see you. Stop eyeing in the back of the cell and show your face at once. Am I? Am I a cat? As yet with no name? Calling me by a number, it's utterly, unbelievably, unjustly unreasonable. I refuse to answer. Mr. Naruhodo? What? What do you think is going on here? Who knows? I have no idea, but I wasn't just hearing things, was I? That tirade of complaints was in Japanese. Oh! Hello, good sir. Excuse me, but who? Shh, quiet! Who are you? They're all around, hiding. I know they are. Okay, this guy seems a little unhinged. They're watching, listening, even now. I can sense it. He seems a little crazy. Right. So, could I ask you who exactly... There you are. You've come to encourage me, haven't you? Don't try to hide it. You're a ghost. I'm a defense attorney. Where do you get ghost from that? A ghost? He's crazy. I mean you no harm, prisoner-son. Are you... Japanese, by any chance? Alright, there he goes. Now he's back to his... Now he's kind of straightened up a little bit. This is... beyond my wildest dreams! Okay, he's very dramatic as well. So who is this guy? Forgive me for that outburst before. I'm so sorry. Oh, it's fine. We were just a little surprised, that's all. Imagine it! It's been 12 long months since I left my hometown, and here I am, in a frightful fix in a foreign land. So, here in the sweet, sentimental tones of a compatriot's voice here in this damp, dark hellhole was a most monumentally moving moments. Okay. Who could have guessed that this new client Lawrence Stronghard assigned to us would turn out to be a fellow Japanese? Ah. What compassion my fellow countryman shows. To dispatch a first-class lawyer all the way from Japan to defend a mere foreign student. Noble, nurturing, never-failing Nippon. A first-class lawyer? Oh dear, I think there's been something of a misunderstanding here. I wonder, would you be so kind as to tell us what's happened? Why you've been detained here as a suspect, for example? Yes, I can, I will. Shan't stay sullen and silent. I like this guy. I'm not quite sure I understand what he means, but see, he seems happy. Yes, he does. I just hope he actually has a good reason to be. Thank you for your cooperation. I am a lawyer, as I said. My name is Ryunosuke Naruhodo. And I am Naruhodo-san's judicial assistant, Susato Mikotoba. I am a visiting student sent here by our government. Notably, notoriously named Natsume. Sosuke Natsume. Alright, let's talk with him. Sosuke Natsume. Sosuke Natsume. San? What an unusual name. Call me Sosuke, please. I'm a poet, you see. A writer of haiku. It's something of a nom de plume. A nom de plume? You mean an alias? That's right, Naruhodo-san. No. Don't be so prosaic. It's much more refined than that. And haiku, that really reminds me of home. Did I hear you say that you were a visiting student sent over here by the government? Yes, that's right. A year ago, I was told to go and study English. First, I had to suffer that misery, and now this. It's beyond the pale. Suffer that misery. Did you not want to study here? No, I mean, I've had an interest in Great Britain for some years, of course. Oh. But just because the government tells you to do something doesn't mean you can do it, no? What do you mean? If they told me to study English literature, that I could have understood. That's my field. But no, they told me to study the English language. Utterly, unbelievably, unjustly unreasonable. I see. Well, only the other day I was told to send a report about my first year here. I tendered a blank piece of paper. Wise words on white washi. Alright. You must be a man of great standing. Oh yes. So I'm often told. And often like to be told, it seems. Alright. So, the accusation against you. I'm interested to hear what this is as well. Can you perhaps tell us exactly why you've been arrested, Sasuke-san? I didn't do it. I didn't commit that atrocious murder. It's not a murder yet. Murder? It's not a murder yet. Oh, no, no, no. It's all right. The woman didn't actually die, did she? But she was stabbed with a knife right before my eyes. Before your eyes? You mean you saw the attacker? I didn't see anyone. What? If I'd seen the person who did it, do you think I'd be locked up in here? That's a good point. Oh dear. Seems this case is becoming rather complicated. Why me? Why me? Why did that silly woman have to be stabbed in front of me? It's the curse of London. It's incredibly, inexcusably, irritatingly inconvenient. So, Sasuke-san was there at the scene, but he didn't see the attacker. It's vital that we find out more about the case. Alright, about the case. It was an accursed event, just like the show had started to snow there, clearing with fog. It's been to the bookshops to buy some books, and I was on my way back to the accursed lodgings. Sure, the bookshop wasn't accursed too. As I was walking along that accursed pavement, I could make out the sole silhouette of another ahead of me. A woman wearing a green overcoat she was, and just as I went to overtake her, she suddenly let out a little scream and collapsed onto the cold, hard slab of stone at my feet. How terrible. I called out to the woman, but she didn't move. It was like a ghostly, ghoulish, grim graveyard. Slight exaggeration there, perhaps. Alright. I was terrified. I had to get away from her there. So I ran as fast as my legs would carry me back to the my accursed lodgings. And then people saw you run away from the scene of the crime. That's not good. They'll say it was a shameful, I know, to run away like that. Actually, it's because it makes you look guilty. Tell me, Sasuke-san, was the victim an acquaintance of yours? Don't be ridiculous. Do you think I know any of these fair-haired English, and a young woman at that? I'm diffident, shy, timid, unsure. I can't talk to people. You're doing handily right now. I see. A young woman, unknown to Sasuke-san. And at the time it happened. Who else did you see nearby? Did anybody pass you? Regrettably, apart from myself and the woman, I didn't see a soul. No one? Oh, great. So the victim was unknown to you and there was no one else on the street at the time. That creates something of a conundrum, doesn't it? Yes, it does. What conundrum? Conundrum. Let's see what you have to say about this conundrum. What do you mean, Susato-san? What's the conundrum? Well, if what Sasuke-san just told us is true, there's something I can't explain. He says that he didn't know the victim, and that there was no one else at the scene. Then he apparently fled without having been seen. I did. But if that's the case, surely this man has to be the culprit? Ah! You! What did you just say? Nothing. I didn't say anything. Oops, perhaps I thought that a little loudly. Actually, that's not what was troubling me. What I was thinking was, how did Sasuke-san actually come to be arrested? Sorry? He didn't touch the victim, and there was nobody at the scene to see him. So how did the police ever discover that he was there in the first place? Oh yes, she's right. That's a good point. I didn't think of that. It was him. That accursed great detective. He led the police to me. Oh. Herlock Sholmes. Our old pal. Oh, what have you done? Of all the bad luck. Accursed great detective. Oh, could it be? It is. I know it is. I shall never forget that man's name as long as I live. With his haughty laugh and his self-proclaimed greatness. Brash, big-headed, busybody, be gone. May you be cursed until the end of your days, Herlock Sholmes. I knew it. So, Mr. Sholmes? Okay. Herlock Sholmes. Let's investigate this. Well, I didn't expect to hear that name from this man's lips, that's for sure. It was the morning after that nightmare had unfolded on the pavement before ding. I was gnawing on a sliver of hard cheese when some men suddenly burst in through the door. They started shouting at me, "This is the police, put the weapon down." Yes, it was a thin sliver, and yes, it was hard, but it wasn't eating a weapon. Discussing dietary discrimination, devils. You clearly had a trying morning yesterday. And there he was, in the middle of all the policemen, grinning like a Cheshire cat. That's Herlock Sholmes. It's actually just Herlock Sholmes. He's English. I've since found out he's a famous name in detection here in London. Yes, the great detective is really very well known. And his overly sharp mind managed to deduce my whereabouts, apparently. He thinks I'm the knife-wielding madman. Me! This weak, stoops kitten of a man. I wonder what great deduction process led him to his conclusion this time. Do you mean to say that Mr. Sholmes' deductive was the only reason the police arrested you? That would be really most unreasonable. Especially since we know that he's wrong, possibly on purpose. Well, the thing is, I was thrown into a panic when they barged in their way in. Of course you were. That's only natural. I was terrified and trembling, and they kept throwing question after question at me. It's in impossible English. Fiendish foreign flim-flammery. Well, we are in England. You can't really blame them for questioning you in English. Good point, but my mind went blank. I knew I had to answer, but I didn't know what to say. So I just kept repeating things like, yes, I do, and I'm fine. The next thing I knew, I was in manacles, and before I knew it, I was thrown in here. Oh dear, I'm afraid that's hardly surprising. I'm fine? He's not fine now. Alright, in any case, that gives us all the information we need. Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire? Oh, you can't just call me Naruhodo. And while we're speaking English, a simple Mr. was more than enough. Oh yes, alright. Yes, they've really got to me. This country is poisoning my mind. Okay. But please, I beg you to defend me in court tomorrow. I will do that. You can tell them what really happened. You'll do it, won't you? Well, yeah, we can do that. Why? Why? Why is it so hard to say yes to me? Well, the thing is, I'm just a student like yourself, on a study tour. A student? I have defended a case in the Old Bailey, only the one though. But as this moment in time, I really don't know what I'm supposed to believe in. I'm confused about what justice in this country even means. Well, we can figure that out. Oh, Naruhodo-san. I'm not even the foreign student who was supposed to be here. I'm sort of a locum lawyer, I suppose. But the arm man! That's the mark of the defense lawyer from our great empire. It's a keepsake from the man who should have been here. He was my best friend. A keepsake? That doesn't mean we can't defend you. I know exactly what they're saying about me. Oh, who do you mean? The lawyers, all the British defense lawyers, they won't defend me. Good goodness, why? Why do you say that? For the same reason as you noted before. When it happened, there was only the victim and myself around, and I ran away from the scene of the crime. I'm not a fool. I know it looks as though I must be the culprit. It must be very hard for you, Soseki-san. And anyway, I'm a student from overseas. I'm just a foreign nobody to them, someone not to be trusted. I heard them openly laughing about me before, in my earshot, without any compunction at all. Any trial for this man would be a waste of time, they said. And of course, the foreigner did it. They even said they had the gall to say the man doesn't understand half of what's being said anyway. That's awful. They're wrong. I've studied more English than half of the policemen out there on the streets. I've traveled halfway around the world to learn about these people's country and its great history. But no one here wants to listen to a man with a strange accent. They all hate me. So, at the very least, I'd like to entrust my fate to someone who can listen to me in my native tongue. I can do that. You could do it, couldn't you? Absolutely. When I look into your eyes, I can see it. I can see what you've been through. Suzuki-san, it's just that... Come on. Give me a little time, please. I'll do what I can for the time being. What do you mean? We shall investigate the case as thoroughly as possible. If we can find some clues, it will give us a much better chance, I'm sure. Oh yes, yes, thank you. I'll be here, all alone, waiting for you. Locum student Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire. We should be going then, Mr. Naruhodo-san. We have a case to prepare for. Alright. Can we converse with him anymore? No, we need to get... I'm just gonna move. Because since the only other location we have is Briar Road, we still haven't been here yet. Visiting a cold, dark Jinxville brings home the reality of crime and punishment. We still haven't... Okay. Time to figure this out. Ooh. 19th of February, Briar Road. Ah, there's the crime scene. So this is where it happened. Briar Road. Ah, look, Mr. Naruhodo. Look at that regulation metal helmet. It's unmistakable. Men of Scotland Yard here. They're investigating as we speak. That is their job, you know. But Mr. Naruhodo, to see one with my own eyes. They're often depicted in the great adventures of Sherlock Holmes, but I've never dreamt I've ever come this close. To a real Bobby's helmet. What? The helmets? Hee. Of course. I have to try one on one day. Well, I hope your hatty dream comes true. That's a very weird dream, Susato, but that's okay. Hi, man. How you doing? What's the Japanese delegation doing here? Oh, Inspector Gregson. This isn't on the tourist trail, as I'm fairly sure you're well aware. Yes, of course. We're here to investigate. So you've been to the holding cells, then. What do you make of the criminal? He's not a criminal, as you put it, Inspector. He's a suspect. We'll see about that. Your Japanese like to stick together, I suppose. Well, do what you will. It doesn't bother me. The bloke's in court tomorrow, whatever happens, and the verdict's a foregone conclusion. The stone-cold air of rejection. Take heart. London at this time of year is full of stone-cold air. That makes it worse somehow. And also, how is she reading my mind again? Alright, let's talk with him. Scotland Yard. Tell me about Scotland Yard, Inspector. Ever since I read about it in the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, I'm fascinated by the place. The Yard is the most sophisticated policing organization you'll find anywhere in the world, ma'am. Oh, and you know I've always dreamt of wearing the rear of Bobby's helmet. It does make them look the part, seeing that policeman there is with his helmet on. We certainly get the sense that this is a man who will take no nonsense in his duty of protecting the city. Oh yes, doesn't he look wonderful? Being a London Bobby is hard going, I can tell you. Oh really? First thing in the morning, you know what he does? Goes round and rouses all the laborers on his beat so they can get off their work. What? He wakes people up? Yep, raps on their windows for the long pole. Did it myself going back a bit. I had no idea. The Bobby works for the people of the town. It's just another one of his duties. After that, he starts tirelessly patrolling the streets all day long. He has to cover 20 miles a day. That's his regulation distance. I can't really imagine how far that is, but it sounds like a long way. Let me see. 20 miles. That's approximately the distance from Tokyo to Yokohama. On foot? That's definitely taking things a step too far. And when it gets dark, of course, he has the important job of lighting all the gas street lamps. Oh my. And I suppose in between all those duties, Bobbies are expected to investigate cases as well. And chase after criminals trying to evade the law. Not the best thing, considering that was exactly what happened with our guy, but I'm not sure you could call it in between exactly. More alongside, but yes. They're expected to handle those jobs as well. We do have men keeling over from time to time, I admit. Ew, that sounds terrible. I'd always dreamed of wearing one of those helmets, as I said. But it's with a heavy heart that I shall have to relinquish that dream to you, Mr. Naruto. Your heavy heart will be my heavy head if you do. Alright, about the case. It happened at around 5 in the evening 2 days ago, just there on that open bit of pavement. The victim, a young woman, was stabbed with a blade from behind. Is that right? Is it right that the lady's still unconscious now? You mentioned that she's being treated in a hospital. I never said she was a lady. Truth is, unless she comes around pretty smartish, we won't be able to find out much about her at all. I suppose that means they haven't been able to take a statement from her, of course. Here's a map of the local area I happen to have on me. You can take it if you want. Really? Are you sure? It's yard policy to give lawyer defendant suspects the odd bit of information to go on. I haven't actually accepted the job yet, but still. Thank you, Inspector. We gratefully accept. The local map has been entered into the court record. Alright, so now we know what we're doing with that. Anyway, as far as we know, there was no one else in the scene other than the victim and your fellow countrymen. So who did it, do you think? Not much of a head-scratcher, is it? Well, I know Mr. Natsume is also claiming not to have seen anyone else around, but just because he didn't see anyone, it doesn't mean we can be sure that nobody else was present. A good point. I'm sorry to have to tell you, but we most certainly can be sure. How? Because, ma'am, the precise moment of the stabbing didn't go unnoticed. What? We have 2 very reliable witnesses, no less. Ah. It was a typical foggy London day, and your client obviously didn't see them. There were witnesses now? Witnesses. Let's see what he has to say about the witnesses. Who are these witnesses, Inspector? A fellow and his wife, and the man's one of the most reliable and respected citizens in all of London. He's a copper from Scotland Yard. Ah. A policeman. That might change things. And this policeman just happened to be there at the exact moment the woman was attacked? Nothing peculiar about that, ma'am. Part and parcel of being a bobby, catching the bang in the act and all that. Do you think it might be possible for us to ask that policeman a few questions? Be my guest. You can ask him what you like. In court tomorrow. Oh. I have no doubt he'll be summoned as a witness. So that'll give you something to look forward to. That's that then. He's got no intention of letting us meet the man beforehand, it seems. A policeman witnessed the incident. As your judicial assistant, I must warn you that this could make our job very difficult indeed. Yes, as a non-judicial assistant, I could have warned me of that too. Oh yes, one more thing, Inspector. What? The person who led you to the suspect. I hear that it was Mr. Herlock Sholmes. What are you bringing him up for? Was it something I said? The color has drained from his cheeks. Alright. Mr. Sholmes? Who did you hear that name from? Oh, well, it was Mr. Natsume who mentioned it. He said that Mr. Sholmes was with the police when they entered his lodgings. I'm sure it was a result of one of Mr. Sholmes' inspirational to the fiddle faddle. I hit the button. Ah! The man's an amateur, and I'm getting sick and tired of him showing his mug everywhere. I didn't mean to... Wait, I can History. Mr. Soames won the piece, and I'm sure it was one of Mr. Soames' inspirational great deductions. Alright. Oh. Okay, I don't know where he gets his information from, but he turns up at the scene of the crime, wanders around spouting incomprehensible rubbish, and before you know it, he claims to have solved the case. Yes, he's quite astounding, isn't he? He is a great help to Scotland Yard, though, isn't he? Gibble gabble. Ah. Ever seen this before? Oh, yes. That's Rand's magazine. The wonderful publication in which the adventures of Sherlock Holmes appears. Yes, well, that wonderful publication, as you put it, sees fit to include several of the Yard's detectives in its stories. And the so-called great detective makes a mockery of all of us. If you ask anyone at the Yard, it's a misadventure to be included in any Sherlock Holmes tale at all. Well, I suppose there is an element of that. We work our socks off, every one of us, only to be frumped by the public thanks to that obnoxious detective. The man as dangerous to us as Scotland Yard as he is to all of our criminals. So it seems Sherlock Holmes isn't all well liked by the police either. That makes sense, considering he literally just shows up, solves the case, and then moseys off on his merry way. That can't really be true, can it, Inspector? Clearly, the great detective and the police have a complex relationship. Alright, tomorrow's trial. That twitchy Japanese bloke goes on trial tomorrow. Are you going to defend him or not? I'm planning to. Well, makes no difference to me, but I will just say this. No London lawyer for salt would touch that case with a barge pole. Because the prosecution is being handled by the Reaper of the Bailey, you mean? There's no way to save the man now. It's a waste of time trying. It is all a bit strange, though. Sorry? The Reaper. He hasn't appeared in court once for a good few years now. And then suddenly he appears as we come back to court, come to defend the people in court. Yes, we did hear something to that effect. Why is he... Yeah, that does make sense. Why is he... That's a little confusing. Why does he suddenly come back now? And the only people he usually bothers with are the real scum, the master criminals, the violent ones. But master criminals? The violent ones? That's right. He handpicks his victims. Only deals with those guaranteed to go to the gallows for their sins. But Mr. Natsume wouldn't hang for what he's accused of, surely? That's just my point, Sunshine. I mean, he didn't kill anybody, if we're being perfectly honest. So I don't think he'll be accused of murder. He hasn't killed anybody yet. Well, ever since being on yet, there's a good chance that the woman may or may not die in the hospital. But he hasn't killed it. But he hasn't killed anybody yet. So technically speaking, it's not murder. It's just assault, which isn't. I mean, I don't really know much about law, so I wouldn't say. So I would not. I mean, murder is obviously the worst thing. If it's assault and attempted murder, I mean, he'll probably spend a couple of years for it. Yeah, but I don't think he'll be hanged for it for attempted murder. Well, maybe. I am, again, not a lawyer, so I have no idea. But in any case, yes, the young woman was stabbed, but it didn't kill her. Couldn't even say the intent was there. So this isn't the sort of case I'd be expecting the Reaper to want to sink his teeth into, for what a better phrase. Well, it's not exactly a minor infraction, is it? No, there's gotta be more to it. Some reason he's taken an interest. Really? What sort of reason, Inspector? You think I can tell what's going on inside the head of that Lord of Darkness? Well, to be fair, he's very much reminiscent of Dracula. I can understand the hesitation. You'll have to ask him yourself at tomorrow's trial. Are we really going to have to face the Reaper again? The Lord of Darkness, as he put it? Apparently, yes. Okay, well, I don't think we're going to get any more useful information out of the detective. Which means probably time to investigate. Mr. Naruhodo, can I make a suggestion? Oh, yes. What is it? Well, it seems to me that we must speak with him about this. By him, do you mean Mr. Sholmes? Yes, Mr. Sherlock Holmes, exactly. Look at those shining eyes. You can't wait, can you? Yeah, I missed my buddy. He wasn't in the last chapter. I've missed my buddy. I want to go see him too. Well, Mr. Natsume did blame Mr. Shums for all this, didn't he? Yes, he did. He really did. Which makes him an involved party in this case. Are you just going to ignore that? I hope not. I assure you, it's not simply my selfish desire to meet with Mr. Shums again. I mean, although that is a big part of it, because he's awesome. The trouble is, I have no idea of the man's address even, so how... It's Baker Street! But how do you know that? It's in the books, isn't it? Yeah, it is! It's in the stories! 221B Baker Street, the most famous address in the world. Yeah, everybody knows. That's the thing about Mr. Sherlock Holmes. Everybody knows his address because it's in his goddamn stories. Oh, I see. Well, there's nothing to stop us from going, I suppose. We'd better try to find our way there before Susato-san gets any more excited and unpredictable. Hurrah! I'll summon a carriage. So we're to have a reunion already with the great detective, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. Alright, can we move? A new location has been added. Alright. Let's go to Sherlock Holmes' suite. Can we really visit, do you think? Oh, pinch me, I'm sure I must be dreaming. Let's go to his house. I'm interested. Ooh. We don't... Cutscene. Animated cutscene.
Thank you very much. It's just up there overlooking the street. Good day. Thanks again.
Alright. Thank you.
This is it.
I wonder what
Sherlock Holmes.
Alright. I'm curious what caused Capcom to want to start using animated cutscenes in their games. I think it was because of the crossover with what is it? With Professor Layton? I think it was because of that, because I know that Professor Layton has had animated cutscenes in his games for a while now, but I don't think prior to that they started using animated cutscenes. So for Ace Attorney. So I think that was what prompted the change. They decided to hire their own in-house animation studio to make the cutscenes for them, which is fine. They're relatively short, so it's not like it's really all that taxing animation-wise. But in any case, 19th February, 12:53 p.m. Sherlock Holmes' suite. Alright, so this is where the great detective makes his living. It feels surreal to be here somehow. It definitely does, because we haven't really been to his house before. It's weird. Alright, show me's. Where are you? Oh, that's presumably his workstation. Is that described in the stories, Miss Susato? Susato-san? Many famous cases have been solved here in this very room. Oh, I suppose they must have been, yes. I've never read the stories, so it's hard to get quite as excited about it as she seems to be. She's fangirling right now, and that's to be expected. She's a big Sherlock Holmes fan. Well, a big Sherlock Holmes fan. Yeah, either way, she's a big fan of the stories, so naturally she's kind of fangirling a little bit right now just to be in his living room. The detective chases the villain relentlessly as he disappears in the fog down an unlit London street. Oh, the thrill of it! The romanticism! Can't you feel your heart thumping in your chest? No, because I haven't read his stories, but I can appreciate Sherlock Holmes' stories in real life, so yes? Can't you, Mr. Haruhodo? Oh, I suppose I can, yes. So, if you don't mind, I'll just stand here and soak up the atmosphere for a while longer. Please, don't mind me. Ah, she's obsessed. Alright, well, where the hell is this dude? Well? It looks like our detective friend isn't home at present. Excuse me, is anybody home? Oh, do we have a visitor? Hi! Hello, it's a big... Is it a big new case for Mr. Sholmes? No. Hello. We met you at the trial yesterday. Wait. Aren't you... Oh, how rude of me. I'll go and make some tea at once. I'm sure it's the same girl. It is the same girl. She lives here. Miss Susato, did you see the girl who was just here? Oh, yes. Isn't it truly extraordinary? To think that the King of Bohemia came to this very room to ask Mr. Shumps to take on his case. The King of Bohemia? The King Wilhelm got your Sigmund of von Orstein, of course. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Forget the adventures of Herlock Sholmes for a moment and look over there. The tea's brewed, and I have a freshly baked cake as well. Ah, it's you! I knew it. Susato's son recognizes her too. She was from the trial at the end. Ah, there you are. And taking that with you as well. I was looking forward to the trial run of my experimental smoke grenade launcher. Oh, good day to you. I'm, well, the inventor, I suppose, of that machine. It's the girl who turned up at the end of Mr. McGilda's trial in the defendant's antechamber. I've never met a lawyer from the Far East before. Poor you, having to get straight to work when you've only just arrived in London. Oh, yes, it was challenging. Well, try this tea. It's my special blend, you know. Oh, thank you. Is tea supposed to look like this color? Oh my, what a fragrant yet mellow flavor. Hooray, it's a winner! I tried blending different leaves designed to alleviate fatigue, you see. You must be exhausted after your long voyage here, and you have yet another ticklish trial tomorrow. Oh, and you're here to defend a Japanese man. I do wish you lots and lots of luck. How did you know all that? Did Mr. Sholmes tell you all about this by any chance? Oh, you know Hurley, do you? Hurley? Mr. Sholmes to you, surely. Mr. Sholmes is a fellow passenger on the boat that brought us to Great Britain, you see. Was he really? Well, I had no idea. I'm afraid Hurley's out on an errand again today, even though he's just returned from overseas. Wait a minute. We met this girl for the first time since yesterday after the trial, and only briefly at that. How on earth does she know so much about us? Did she deduce all those things, do you think? And perhaps more to the point, why is she here in Mr. Sholmes' suite? Oh, silly me, I haven't introduced myself, have I? It's a great pleasure to meet you both. My name is Iris Wilson. I live here together with Hurley. Ah, Iris, is it? What a lovely name. What? What's the matter? No, wait, this can't be. Did you say your name is Wilson? What's the matter with Susato-san? Why is she so flustered all of a sudden? Yes, that's right. And what are your names? Oh, I'm Ryonosuke Naruhodo, a lawyer from Japan. Oh, sorry. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant, Susato Mikitoba. It's wonderful to meet you. Lovely. Susie and Runo. Got it. Well, Susie? Well, I mean, she seems to be fond of giving people nicknames, so I'll allow it. And Runo? There's more to this girl than meets the eye. Absolutely. I have so many questions for her, I don't know where to start. Yes, and so do I. Let's converse with her. Iris! It was you that we ran into yesterday, wasn't it? At the Old Bailey? Yes, that's right. You were ever so helpful. Thank you so much. Oh no, not at all. I'm sorry we couldn't have been more welcoming. Though at the time, we did have a rather large gun pointed at us. Like this? Gulp. Thinking back now, you left with Miss Lestrade in tow, didn't you? Oh yes, that awkward witness, Gina Lestrade. Oh, Jeannie? Yeah, she's a professional pickpocket. So we found out. It was very naughty of her to pinch my invention like that. Are you referring to that trial-disrupting gun-like contraption? Exactly, so I followed her, you see, to get it back. Perhaps I should think about fitting a self-destruct mechanism in my inventions. That's a terrible idea. That's gonna hurt somebody. This girl is dangerous. Anyway, I brought Ginny back here after that, so she could apologize to my trusted technician. Sorry? Your technician? Hurley, of course, silly. Hurley. Yes, Herlock. Herlock Sholmes. We live here together. I had no idea this great detective had such an interesting young daughter. Daughter? Not likely. What? I wouldn't call him Hurley if he was my father, would I? Well, then, what is your relationship with Mr. Sholmes? Well, I expect you found out that lodgings of any kind in London are very expensive. So the solution is to share the cost with a partner, a roommate. Your roommates? I hope you don't mind me asking, Iris, but how old are you? 10 at last this year. Well, what of your mother and father? Oh no, they're not around. Oh, I see. I wonder what the story is there. Right, Wilson. Oh yes, there's something I must ask you. Of course, go ahead, Susie. I'm very great fan of the Adventures of Sherlock Sholmes, and... Oh, you have a copy of Rand's magazine! Yes, I read every issue. It's delivered all the way to Japan on a ship. Oh, this is so exciting. My stories are being read on the other side of the world. My stories? That's right. Hurley is always solving such amazing cases, you see, and he tells me all about them. Okay, so you're the one who publishes all the stories. They really are quite fascinating. It would be such a shame if I was the only one who ever heard them, don't you think? Okay, goodness! Last night, he was telling me all about a new case he just solved on a steamship traveling from faraway lands. So I was just in the middle of typing up the manuscript for the next issue before you came. Okay, so we're going to be part of the story as well. So you are the author. Yes, I'll let you in on a secret if you like. I'm going to call this later adventure the Speckled Band. The Speckled Band? That's certainly very familiar. Of course, I always change one or two details in the stories here and there. This time, I had the idea of making a venomous snake be the cause of all the trouble. Okay, so you're making fun of the... So, again, making fun of the fact that the stories, that the deductions are true in the actual stories, but not so much in real life. Oh, that was Mr. Sholmes' first thought as well, actually. Yes, and of course I know that Snake might not be a credible fit for the facts of the case exactly, but... It's a story. Some poetic license is justified to make things more thrilling, I think, don't you? So, do you mean to say... All are the stories about Mr. Sholmes that are published in Rand's magazine all written by me? Yes, on my wonderful and very modern typewriter. But all the stories I've ever read are written by a doctor of medicine, Dr. John H. Wilson. Susato-san's getting more and more worked up. Ah, yes, that's me. I mean, my name really is Wilson. But what about the doctor of medicine part? That's all true, too. I am a doctor of medicine. No, at 10 years old? At 10 years old. I like this girl. Well, that's quite incredible. But... Dr. Wilson is an English gentleman. Ah, yes. I did alter the setting slightly for the stories to be more compelling. Oh. Well, I think... Well, it sounds a little strange, doesn't it? I think Susato's entire worldview has just been shattered because of this. A great detective with a 10-year-old girl in tow? Yeah, Susato's kind of... I suppose it does, yes. Poor Susato-san. She looks like her whole world is... Yeah, but I called it. Her entire worldview has been shattered because she found out... She just found out what how the stories are actually written and who actually writes them. Oh, poor Susato-san. Poor Susato. She'll be fine, I'm sure. I'm sure she'll recover eventually. Probably not for a couple of decades or so, but she'll recover. Your deduction just now. About before. Yes? What's on your mind, Runo? Do tell me. How did you know that I was a lawyer and we just arrived in London, I mean? Yes. Oh, and that we have a difficult trial tomorrow. How did you know all of that? Oh, that's what you mean. Please, tell us how you did it. Explain every detail. Of course, I'd be delighted. Although, there's really no mystery. Now, let's begin. Iris Wilson is proud to present her Logic and Reasoning Spectacular. Oh. First of all, I knew already that you were a lawyer, Bruno. After all, I met you yesterday at the Old Bailey in the defendant's antechamber. But you also said that we'd only just arrived in London. How did you know that? I reserved a passport and travel ticket protruding from your breast pocket. Oh. So I was reasonably confident that you must have only just arrived in the country. Then I noticed a red ink stamp on the back of Susie's hand. You were given that when you visited the local prison to meet with a suspect, weren't you? Earlier today. Ah. They use those stamps to keep a close eye on comings and goings, you see. I didn't realize. And a red stamp is only used for people visiting foreign inmates. So, that told me that even though you had only yesterday concluded the trial of Magnus McGilded, the two of you had already had cause to visit a foreign inmate at a local prison. However, neither of you were wearing a particularly sad expression on your face, so I concluded that the prisoner was unlikely to be a friend or a relative. That led me to believe that you must have accepted a new case. I see. But how could you have known that the trial is tomorrow? Well, having barely been home a few hours yesterday, Hurley solved yet another case. It obviously amused him. He told me that he'd caught a Japanese man who was bawling and trembling. A Japanese man? Well, clearly that must have been Mr. Natsume. Now, Bruno has that fancy Japanese sword. And I think your outfit is called a kimono, isn't it, Susie? Well, anyway, it's clear to me that you both come from Japan yourselves. So I put two and two together and decided you must be defending the Japanese man Hurley caught. And there was only one conclusion that facts could lead me to. You both came here to ask Hurley about the case. Okay. So, her deductions were completely right. As opposed to Sherlock Sholmes, who never hasn't gotten any of them right yet. There's a note on the mantelpiece that says the man's trial will be tomorrow. Hurley was always stabbing his notes with a knife, you know. He is silly. I can see that now. I was wondering what that was. I didn't know. It was just. It's just blurred into the background. I'm only now realizing that he stabs his notices on the wall with a knife. And that's all there is to it, really. Thank you for listening. I'm Iris Wilson, and that was one of my great deductions. Alright. Well, was that a winner? Were my deductions correct? Better than Sherlock Sholmes, I will tell you. They were spot on. That was amazing, Iris. Truly a great deduction. As opposed to Sherlock Sholmes, who hasn't gotten one right yet. You even managed to discern something of Mr. Holmes' delivery. Oh, well, I was just copying Hurley's style for that. That is really good and very good news. You could tell us all about the case involving the Japanese man. You will, won't you, Iris? Please? Alright, the case of the Japanese man. So yesterday, Mr. Sholmes apprehended a Japanese man, you were saying? Yes. Hurley had just arrived back in London after a sea voyage. But the police were waiting for him at the railway station to take him directly to the crime scene. Ah, the great detective is a popular man, it seems. Apparently a woman was stabbed on a quiet street somewhere in town. There were witnesses who had seen a short, shifty-looking, stooped man running away from the scene. A short, shifty-looking, stooped man. Yeah, we know who that is. Mr. Natsume, beyond any doubt. Sasuke-san said he didn't see anybody else on the street at all. But it seems there were witnesses after all. Hurley used his great detective powers to determine the man's address. It was a lodging room very nearby. He went directly there with the police, and what did they find? A short, shifty-looking, stooped man shivering in fear. Mr. Sholmes' great deduction certainly hit the mark that time. Of course he did. He's a great detective. Yeah, but he doesn't get anything right. Or at least, not intentionally. Still, that means the incident occurred only 2 days ago. Surely tomorrow is too soon for the trial, isn't it? Definitely. We have no time to investigate properly. Hurley says that London is rife with crime. Oh. Scotland Yard is doing its best, but they can't stay on top of it, apparently. Oh dear. I hadn't realized the situation was so dire. That's why they can't afford to spend too much time investigating cases and trying the criminals in court. Staff and money are both short. Crimes are usually pinned on the first suspicious person. That's a dangerous practice, but okay. Yeah, that is terrible, Susato. Okay. I suppose it's harsh reality of working on the world's greatest justice system. I suppose it is, but in that case, I don't hold out much hope for Susuke-san. Well, in case. Thank you for answering so many of our questions, Iris. This has been very informative. Oh, you're most welcome. It had so much fun. Do you happen to know where Mr. Sholmes is at the moment? As you guessed, we'd like to ask him some questions about the case as well. We haven't heard from him yet. Ah, well. I expect Charlie is still investigating the scene. Of the case involving Mr. Natsume, you mean? Yes, Mr. Nuts. May? Charlie said he was going to the man's lodgings. If you leave now, you'll probably catch him there. Iris, do you know where those lodgings are? Well, I imagine the police are still investigating the scene of the crime themselves, aren't they? Did you happen to come across a detective by the name of Gregson while you were there? Yes. Yes, we know Inspector Gregson. Ah, goody. In that case, give Gregsy this from me, wouldn't you? If you do that, I'm sure he'll tell you what you want to know. What is this? A 5-shilling piece and a postcard, seems. Iris's postcard has been entered into the court record. Cry for Inspector Gregson with a message on the back from Iris. Alright. It reads, tell the gentleman in black whatever he wants to know. I trust that won't be a problem. Gosh, this will make the inspector help us, will it? Well, thank you, Iris. We'll give it a try. Alright. Good luck, then. I'm going to return to writing my manuscript, The Speckled Band. And I'll be making more special blends of tea, so come back again soon. We'd be delighted. Thank you so much, Iris. Alright. Well, Mr. Naruhodo, it's back to the scene of the crime. Alright, there's a lot of walking. Alright, so somewhat dubious that they were to exert any influence over the man of Scotland Yard at all. We headed back to the scene where Iris' curious note and one of the world's heaviest silver coins in hand. Okay, and that's to be continued. Alright. Well, that went well-ish, I guess. So, in any case, okay, in any case, that's gonna do it for today's episode. So, okay, so from this, we actually have learned quite a bit of things. First and foremost, we learned that all the Sherlock Holmes stories are complete and other crap. Well, it's basically, and obviously they're meant to be they're the actual stories from the actual real life publications from the original Strand magazine, but obviously in the world of Great Ace Attorney and Ace Attorney in general, they're complete and utter crap. They're not actually true. And Susato kind of took that a little too harshly. So, well, yeah, that's going to be interesting looking into that. But in any case, yeah, and also we've actually met Natsume, and it's clear that Mr. Natsume may or may, from what we can conclude, there were indeed witnesses, and we're going to have to investigate that as well to actually figure out what's going on with that. But I don't think Natsume did it. It doesn't seem like he did it at all. I'm just curious as to how that actually is going to play out for our trial. But in any case, I think I'm going to leave this episode here. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also be sure to follow me on Twitter in the description below. It does help you when I actually have information that I need you guys to see. So be sure to go check that out. And also be sure to check out my Patreon and Twitch down in the description below. My Patreon has access to a bunch of cool perks that I'm always saying thanks. Whereas my Twitch is just a way for you to actually see more content from me, and I stream every Sunday, so be sure to check that out. And finally, be sure to check out the videos linked in the end screen for even more content from me. The top video is the most recent one. It may or may not be this one. Whereas the bottom video is a video recommended to you based on what you've already seen from me. So, if you want to try something new, or see more of what you like, then be sure to check both of those videos out. But, regardless of whether or not you do any or all of those things, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace!